Now, let's talk about the domestic challenges you have for a bit on some of these trade deals in TPP. And to just be blunt, to create a bumper sticker, say where Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, or others have been opposed, and I don't want to completely mangle their views, but there is a view in the United States that trade and doing more trade and opening trade deals is bad for the environment and bad for American workers, and has undermined the middle class. So can you give us your best case for why you don't agree with that summation?
Well, first of all, I think the concerns that critics of trade have, many of the concerns are legitimate, and we need to take them very seriously. But I think they're also not
Which ones are not legitimate?
They're also, I think, they're not recognizing that we're pursuing a different kind of trade policy than has ever been pursued before. And so, take TPP, for example. Not only are we lowering barriers to the markets abroad to help increase Made in America exports, but we're trying to level the playing field by raising labor and environmental standards in these countries. And so the same people who complain that we have to compete against workers who face much lower working conditions, this is exactly what we're trying to do through TPP, is raise the working conditions in other countries, both for their own sake, because it's the right thing to do, to create markets of middle-class consumers who will buy our products in the future, but also to level the playing fields so that our workers and our firms can compete effectively. Our workers are the most productive in the world. We're 30% more productive than German workers. We're twice as productive as South Korean workers. And through these trade agreements, if we can raise labor and environmental standards, it will help position us as a place that can compete more effectively around the economy. So my answer to them is, in some cases they're fighting a battle that's 20 years old and not looking at what we're actually doing in this agreement. This agreement will have stronger labor provisions than ever before, stronger environmental provisions than ever before, and they will be binding and fully enforceable. And so they're very serious obligations that the other countries will take on.
Do you think, one of the things that I've just often wondered, in March, the Atlantic organized a large economic summit, and I was able to interview Richard Trumka, who's the president of the AFL-CIO, and I asked him about trade deals and your work. And I asked him, I said, has there ever been a trade deal that you've supported? And his answer was sort of kind of a grumbling no. And I said, what would be required to do that? And what it brought to mind is a question of, in American politics, we have the drama of great debate sometimes, but you have people that have been playing in the same position for a very long time, either in the pro-trade, the anti-trade, the different side. Do we need to all step back and kind of take a new look at this, that some of our vested, built-in behaviors need to be rethought?
I think that's right. And when I listen to some of the criticism of trade, I fear they're conflating trade agreements with globalization. If we look back, America's lost more than 5 million manufacturing jobs. Now, over the last 4 years, we've gained 650,000 of them back. But I think one of the great reasons of people feeling unsure about trade negotiations is the concern that they have contributed to a decline in U.S. manufacturing jobs. Most economists agree that as between globalization and technology has a much greater impact on manufacturing jobs in America than globalization. But nobody says, let's get rid of computers. In fact, at conferences like this, we celebrate technology right and left, even though it's those efficiencies that are having an effect on our workforce in a very profound way. But even just looking at the effect of globalization is a force. It's happening. We can't turn back the tides of globalization. And I fear that people conflate globalization and trade agreements. In our view, trade agreements is how we deal with globalization. We can either be shaped by globalization or we can shape it. And the way we shape it is through these trade agreements, by creating higher standard rules, by leveling the playing field, by making sure that other countries abide by their obligations.